Hello, beautiful woman and entrepreneur. This is Blairiana, and welcome to this episode of the Aligned Entrepreneur Podcast. This is episode 2, so all the show notes as well as any links that I share can be found over at blairiana.com/2. Today I'm going to be sharing with you what your most valuable resource is as a female entrepreneur and how to cultivate more of this resource so you can create more magic, money, and momentum in your business without increasing your workload or defaulting into hustle mode. Sound good? Let's dive in. Welcome to the Aligned Entrepreneur Podcast, the place to be for your weekly fix of divine feminine wisdom, empowered business mindset, and practical spirituality to help you break free from the hustle, find your flow, and grow your online business on your own terms, the feminine way. I'm your host, Blairiana, and it is time to get aligned. So let me first start by kind of debunking one of the big myths that I definitely hear a lot of female entrepreneurs kind of getting sucked into when it comes to feeling like they are stuck in their business or they aren't getting the traction that they need, or they're really struggling and stressed around growing their business or being consistent in their business. And this myth is around the idea of time. It's so commonplace to hear people say things like, I just don't have enough time, I need more time, or if I had more time, I'd be getting so much more done. We fall into the trap of making our business success dependent on how much time we feel we do or don't have to invest in our businesses. But the thing is, time is not actually the problem here. Because you have the exact same amount of moments and minutes in the day as someone who has spent all day on the couch watching Netflix or someone who is out running a 7-figure business. And of course, there's no judgment around that. I've been known to have my Netflix binges as much as the next girl. But the point I'm making is we all have the exact same amount of time. So it's never about time itself. That just happens to be our focus. Because as a woman in business, it's not time that is your most valuable resource. It's energy. Energy is your most vital resource in business. And what so many women don't realize is that they think that the problem is time, and they're stressing about time, and they're trying to get more of it, and they're trying to control it, and they're trying to manipulate it, when in fact it's their energy levels that need to be looked at. So many of us are depleted on a fundamental level, emotionally, energetically, spiritually depleted in our businesses, which is causing us to not be productive with the time that we do have, which as a result is causing us to crave more of it. We're losing drive, we're losing inspiration, we're losing focus, we're losing motivation, we're losing those key fundamental elements that enable us to make proper use of the time that we have. Because ultimately, we all feel the time that we have just as you're doing now. Whether you like it or not, whether you feel like you're in control of it or not, you are feeling the time that you have. And this is a lesson I learned the hard way when I took 3 months off from my business to focus on my health and really connect back to myself and begin to spend some time cultivating that internal fire, because I recognized that how I'd been growing my business at the time up until that point was not loving to my energy. It wasn't in alignment with my rhythm. I hadn't been honoring the introvert in me that needs to recharge, the sensitive and intuitive part of me that filters a lot more information and a lot more data in my day than most other people do. And I wonder if you can identify a bit of yourself in that. Because one of the big traps of modern business, and particularly how it's portrayed online and social media, is that we can kind of think of the hustle as being a very particular thing. It exists in its own little box. And we can think of masculine-driven business as being a very particular thing. It's all about push, it's all about action, it's all about always being out there and always doing and always being seen. It's about massive action. And we can tend to think of it as having a certain level of intensity or urgency that makes the hustle easily identifiable when we're seeing it in other people, or we're seeing it presented, or we think that it's easy to identify it in ourselves based on that external perception. But the thing is, your unique hustle, your version of hustle mode, may look very, very, very different to what we've thought and have been taught to believe in how it's presented. So you may not actually realize how much you are hustling and pushing and depleting yourself because of this preconceived idea of what hustling looks like. and you're comparing yourself to other people in your industry who fit the traditional form of hustle more than you. And so the tendency is to think things like, well, I'm not doing nearly as much as them, therefore even though I'm tired, even though I'm run down, I still have to keep going because I'm not doing as much as everyone else. Whereas in reality, you've just hit your unique threshold. You're in your unique version of hustle mode. So these external factors become the barometer for action taking in the state of doing in business, rather than honouring and being cognizant of our own internal threshold and holding true to that, despite what the noise around us is saying that we should be doing. But what you don't realise is that if you're anything like me and your energetic baseline is one that requires a lot of rest, if you have a lot of yin energy that needs to be replenished, and as a woman, odds are if you're feeling burnt out, stressed out and overwhelmed in your business, I can guarantee you there's something going on in your yin energy, which is your feminine energy. Your feminine energy is depleted, so that, say for example, you have an entire afternoon free in your business, and the kids are out or you've got no clients, you're completely cleared your schedule, but you just can't get in the zone. And you're fluffing around doing stuff that makes you busy but not productive. And at the end of the day, you just feel frustrated and fed up, like you've spent the whole day doing but not actually getting anything done. And that's the trap I see so many female entrepreneurs falling into, because they're looking at it through the lens of time, thinking, I didn't have enough time to get what I needed done today. So you're always feeling like you're behind no matter what you do. But the thing is, you may have technically had the time to do those things, but because you didn't have the energetic resources to put into them, you quote-unquote wasted that time doing stuff that wasn't actually important, or wasted a lot of time trying to get into a state of flow that you just couldn't relax into. So instead you felt like you had to drag yourself through the day. So it's never about time. It's about how much energy you have to give to getting the most out of the time that you do have. So it's essential to have the energetic resources you need in order to have the presence and clarity of mind required to do the right thing at the right time in your business, in a way that's honouring of your natural rhythm. The only reason why you aren't getting things done that you think that you need to be doing in business, and the only reason why you're stressed out about time all the time, is because you've lost touch with the feminine energetic quality that enables you to be present and centered in order to get into a state of ease and flow. An amazing amount of work can be achieved in 15 minutes when your cup is full and you have the energy to wholeheartedly give to the task at hand. But when your energy is empty, you can spend all day on the exact same task and still not get it done in the way that you want. There are so many female entrepreneurs who are running around stressed out of their heads, all of their energy buzzing around in their brains, and they don't feel grounded, they don't feel connected, and they're just rushing and rushing from one thing to another, and they want to get into flow. It's something that they're desperately craving to achieve. But the thing is that you can't get into flow if you're sitting at your computer going, oh my god, I only have 4 hours and I need to build a completely automated funnel in 4 hours, oh my god. That ain't going to get you into flow, because the feminine energy is one of presence. It is one of cultivating an internal awareness, an internal energetic foundation from which you step out into the world. But if you're lacking that energetic foundation, if you're lacking the energetic quality of presence needed as a woman in business, then every time you take action in your business, you're going to feel like you're coming from a place of emptiness because you don't have the energy to spare to see that action through. And eventually it's going to feel like you just have nothing left to give. Because if you're going out into the world fundamentally drained and exhausted, then you're going to either consciously or subconsciously feel that any outcome of your action is going to require more energy than you have to give. So what happens is your body naturally goes into a state of conservation, a state of protection, of fight-flight, wanting to hold on to that energy. Because we're afraid something's going to be taken away, we don't have the energy to spare, so we lock ourselves down and wrap ourselves around it. Not wanting to share, not wanting to be seen, not wanting to go above and beyond for your clients because your body is holding on to the last of its energetic resources. And it can reach a point where you think, well, what's the point of taking action in the first place? It becomes almost too exhausting to even think about planning a launch or building a funnel or taking on more clients because you are depleted, even though you have the time to be doing those tasks. It's not the time, it's the energy. That's why we get into resentment. That's why we get into burnout. That's why we get into lack and scarcity and urgency and need. If you're coming from a place of need in your business, you're not coming from a place of energetic alignment. So you're not going to get the quality of result that you're wanting, no matter how much time you have to spare. Because as I said, at the end of the day, your most valuable resource as a female entrepreneur is not time, it's energy. So coming to know your energetic qualities as a woman first and how these ripple out into how you show up as an entrepreneur, and coming to understand how to build your business in your own way in alignment with your own rhythm, in alignment with a way that feels in integrity and of soul-aligned value to you, that's what's going to create success. And I'm not talking about stop-start success. I'm not talking about short-term success where you run yourself into the ground for one launch and then have to take a month off because you've completely fried your circuits. I'm talking about sustainable success because it's coming from a place of sustainable energy. Because getting success in the beginning stages of business is, in all honesty, not the hard part. The much harder part and the much more crucial element as a woman in business is getting there sustainably. It's about getting to that level and then knowing how to sustain and maintain it in a way that is loving to you, in a way that you're not running on empty every time you step into your business. That's what sustainable soul-aligned business is all about. That's what I teach, and that's what it comes from, understanding your energy and knowing how to work with it in business rather than against it. Getting to understand how your feminine energy interweaves with how you show up in business and how to capitalize on the intuitive and natural gifts you already have so you can take the right action at the right time, in the right way, and from the right place to get you the right result. So when it comes to business, the good news is you don't have to reinvent the wheel. A lot of us are trying to. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. You just need to find a way of doing business that is going to be most loving and of deep service to you so you can be of deep service on this planet. Because the world needs you to show up, but it needs you to show up from a place of integrity, alignment, and with your cup already overflowing, there is more of you to give to the areas of your life that you want to give to the most. You're going to serve no one if you're already burnt out before you even get started. The most loving thing you can do for your clients, for your legacy, for your family, for those of you who are needing you to show up and be there as your full self, is to come to know how to take care of your energy first, your energetic boundaries and your energetic integrity, so that whenever you show up in your business, it's from a place of authenticity and alignment. Don't run out there and start taking random action in your business, expecting alignment to show up down the track. Because when you begin to divert your focus from time as being this finite resource and instead become conscious of your own energy and start to see that as your most valuable resource, the thing that needs to be cultivated and protected and cherished, suddenly taking a moment to check in with yourself and practice self-care is no longer something you don't have time for or is considered a waste of time, but is instead a fundamental necessity to the sustainable growth and success of your business long term. So how about we bring this puppy home with some action steps that you can take to begin to cultivate more of your own energetic resources and, as a bonus natural byproduct, actually give yourself more time in the process. So, step 1. Become conscious of how often you talk about time. What you focus on grows. So the more you talk about how much time you perceive you don't have, the less you actually are going to end up having because you're focusing on the lack of it. So for the next 3 days, consciously bring your attention to how many times you complain about time, specifically not having enough of it. Then, over the following 3 days beyond that, consciously stop yourself from mentioning time altogether. Take it off the table as a topic of conversation, especially when we use it as a way of connecting. It's a weird thing that we do as humans, where we tend to use our lack as a way of connecting with others, where we talk about how none of us have enough time. We tend to have time to talk about the fact that we don't have enough time, which makes no sense to me. So, stop mentioning time. Avoid conversations with other people who tend to complain about time, and stop yourself talking about it with others as well and to yourself, especially when it comes to blaming time for why you couldn't get something done. Do this and notice how much more time you actually begin to create for yourself simply by not focusing on the lack of it. Step number 2. Come to understand your natural energy fluctuations as a woman. Knowing how your body's natural feminine rhythms work are so important to knowing how to work in alignment with your energy so you're doing the right thing at the right time in business. And I've actually made this super duper easy for you by having our very next episode of the Align Entrepreneur podcast cover this exact topic. So make sure you check that out by clicking the link in the episode show notes over at blairiana.com/2, or simply continue on to the next episode if you're already listening to this on iTunes. And finally, step number 3, schedule your self-care first. This is a non-negotiable. No matter what obligations you have each day, when it comes to organising your weekly and daily schedule, start with your self-care first. Because as a woman, this is the very first thing that tends to slip to the bottom of the list. Unfortunately, as women, we have been culturally and societally educated to put ourselves last. We have been taught to release feelings of guilt and shame if we put ourselves first in any capacity. And there's this idea of lack in that if we are taking care of ourselves, then we are robbing that love or robbing that nurture from somewhere else. So the very first thing that you can begin to do to break this internal programming is to schedule your self-care first. And believe me, it sounds small, but in our society, you as a woman doing that is an act of rebellion. It is an act of revolution. So don't downplay it by not doing it. Because the reality is, you not taking care of yourself benefits no one. Not you, not your business, and not your loved ones. No one benefits from you being stressed out, exhausted, and super grumpy, wanting to stab everyone in the face with a fork. So by scheduling your self-care first, you are committing to nurturing, honouring, and replenishing your own energetic resources each day. So you'll have more to give to getting your work done in the time that you have, and will also enhance the quality of the work that you are putting out as well. So it actually saves you time. This is the awesome thing. It saves you time because you're not having to rewrite things, redo things, or re-record things because you're scattered and all over the place. Self-care gives you a place of anchoring, so it's easy to access a state of flow. So over the next week, I invite you to experiment with these 3 action steps and just stay curious. Just notice how much more present, connected, and relaxed you feel by committing to nurturing and cultivating your own energetic resources. Thank you for taking the time to join me for this episode of the Aligned Entrepreneur Podcast. And if you found this helpful, then I would absolutely love to know what's been your biggest aha moment and which of my 3 tips you're going to implement this week. Leave me a comment over on the blog at blairiana.com/2 and let's continue the conversation. Until next time, I'm Blairiana and I cannot wait to see you shine your light in the way that only you can.